Okay, so here's some calculator tips you can use to hopefully help you on the ACT or upcoming performance series as well. One crucial thing that I've been asked to do in this video is show you how to change back and forth from radian to degree based on the type of problem you're dealing with, and especially for your trig, you want to make sure that your calculator is in degree. So from the home screen, go into your scratch pad, you can go into calculate. From there, you're going to hit the dock button, which is right below your home button. From there, you're going to scroll down to 7, which is document and settings. You're going to select number 2, document settings. From there, you're going to look at angle, and then you have options. We've got gradient, radian, and degree. You want to make sure that your calculator is set to degree. So for instance, when you clicked on this and it said radian, you want to click into it, change it to degree. You want to click the button, so you just keep scrolling down, make default. It'll ask, do you want to apply these settings to everything? Yes, you do. And now your calculator is in degree. We're going to start with kind of some tricks maybe that you don't know about. So first thing is, these calculators are very useful for making fractions. So if you want to make a fraction, a shortcut for that is hitting Control. Anytime you hit Control, it's going to activate all the blue commands that you see on the screen. So the first one in doing that is Control Division. It's going to make you a fraction. Okay. From there, you can enter in the fraction the way you see it on your paper, for example, 3/4. Other uses you might need for this, sometimes I've noticed on the calculator that your screen is too dark or too bright, depending on how you want to look at it. If you'll hold down Control and hit plus or minus at the same time, you can make your screen lighter or darker. Some other useful things for Control, if you look over here, if I want to square a number, say for instance 4 squared, I hit 4. The x squared is going to give me that square, and I hit enter. Let's say, for example, that I have another exponent that's not 2. So let's say I want to do 4 to the 5th power. So I'm going to hit 4. I'm going to hit this button beside x squared. It's called a caret. When I hit that, it's going to make a little space for me to put in my exponent, and I can put in any exponent that I'm dealing with. So 4 to the 5th, for example, is 1024. Other things you might see a use for, if you're especially in Algebra 2 and trig, you're going to notice your natural log and your log commands down here. You first have to, again, hit Control, depending on which one you're dealing with, and put in the number you need to. Some other very useful things that a lot of people don't know that it can do is, again, another useful feature of this is that they can solve linear equations, and that's really key. The variables that you see in your problems have to be to the first power. So here's an example problem. Something pretty basic. Let's go with 2x plus 3 equals 17. So I'm going to go to Menu. I want to let this solve. Go down to Algebra, because after all, we're solving equations. And if I have a linear equation, I'm going to hit Numerical Solve. It's going to autofill this for me, and then I'm ready, and this is key, to enter it exactly the way it is on my paper. So 2x plus 3 equals 17. And now the thing that people forget, if you hit enter at this point, this is what it's going to tell you. The function or command is missing one or more arguments. You have to tell these calculators what to solve for. So going back here, after you've entered in your equation the way it looks on your paper, you're going to need to hit comma, x, enter. And it will give you the answer. Now, something you want to watch out for, sometimes you'll come up against linear equations that have variables that are not x, and that's fine. But every time you enter it in this calculator, I want to give you a hint that change all your variables to x when you put it in your calculator, because sometimes these other letters down here, there's not anything wrong with them, but sometimes people have stored different variables in these letters, and it'll mess you up. Okay? Going back up here, another useful feature, let's say we get this. We go back up to algebra, I'm going to solve another one. Let's do x plus, no, don't do that. Let's do 2x plus 1, let's do equals 6. Now I'm going to do comma x and hit enter. 2.5. So let's say you look at your answer choices and you don't see 2.5. All you see is fractions. So we can fix that. So if I go up to menu and I want fractions, I'm going to go to number. I'm going to select number 2, which says approximate to a fraction. I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to hit enter. And now I've got 2.5 as an improper fraction is 5 over 2. And again, that's very useful, and you will have to look at the question that you have in the answer choices and see which form it needs to be in. Okay? On the other token, let's say you have control division. I'm going to do 5 over 2. Let's say you want to go back and forth. If you've got a fraction that shows up as your answer and you want to see a decimal, again, you can go to menu, number, and hit convert to decimal. Or a quicker way might be control enter, and it'll convert it to a decimal for you. All right? So let's say that I don't have something that is, let's say I run up against a problem where my variables are not to the first power. So let's say, for instance, I run across something that says 2x squared minus 9x plus 16 equals 0. And the directions on that say solve and factor. Well, if you're having a bad day and you don't remember how to factor a problem like this, don't worry. If you've got it set up in descending order, and what I mean by that is you've got your x squared, your x to the first power, and then your constant term that has no variable with it at all. If you've got it in this form, these Inspire calculators can solve the problem for you. But I cannot use numerical solve. I've got to use something a little bit different. And I only want to use this tool I'm about to show you if I've got something bigger than 1 for an exponent on my variable. So going back to the Inspire for a minute. To solve something like that, I'm going to go to menu. And I'm going to go to algebra. This time I'm going to go down to polynomial tools, and I'm going to do find roots of polynomials, the first one. Ours is degree 2, so I don't have to change it, but if you had degree 3, 4, or whatever the case may be, you can adjust the number. And we're going to be looking for real roots. And hit OK. Now I just need to autofill. So the number I had in front of the x squared, or my squared variable, again, it may not be x, that's okay, was 2. The number I had in front of my x to the first, or in other words, again, it may not be x, was -9, I do believe. And then my constant term was 16. After I've done this, I'm going to hit OK. It's going to autofill all of that for me, and now I just need to hit enter. And I picked this one for a reason. Guys, if you look over here, it didn't give me any answers. Well, this calculator's doing the right thing that it's supposed to. If I were looking for real roots, you can say, this one doesn't have any. There's no solution here. It could not be factored. Sometimes you'll see that also. All right? So let's look at some of your trig. Okay? So looking at my calculator, your trig command is right here by 7. If you click on it, you're going to get some options. And you just need to select the trig that you're using. So let's say, for instance, I'm using tangent. Again, let's say I want to know the tangent of something. So let's do control division, get me a fraction, and I want to know the tangent of 3 over 4. I hit enter, and I've got my answer. And again, any one of the trees that you're used to are in here: sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Again, these down here are inverse sine, inverse cosine, and so on. Let me take a moment and explore the menu options and other things that you may be curious about. Again, actions, most of this you will not be using. A thing that is important though, if you have a lot of stuff on here and you don't want to see it anymore, you can just select 5 and clear all of your history. I do not, however, if you're working on the ACT or Performance Series, I wouldn't clear any of my history, because you never know when you need to scroll back up and look at something that you've already done. But again, that option is there for you. Again, looking at number, I can convert to a decimal, approximate to a fraction. I can factor LCM, GCD. I can get remainders. Under algebra, the two that we've focused on are numerical solve, which will solve linear equations only. Polynomial tools will solve quadratics, cubics, and so on. Solve system of linear equations, we didn't look at that, but if you click on it, it's going to ask you how many equations do you have. Let's say we have 2. How many variables do you have? Well, I have 2, x and y. And then you simply enter them in the way you see them on your paper. It's really, really nice. And again, once you're ready, let's say for instance I have one that's, well, all you got to do is enter in what you've got and hit enter and you'll have it. Let's look at some more. Going back to menu options, calculus, I think you'll be pretty good there. Probability, they do have some buttons you may be interested in. Factorial, you've got permutations and combinations, and this one's real nice also. Let's say, for instance, you run across a probability problem and you figure out its combinations. Once you hit that, all you've got to do is enter in your total and what you're taking at a time. So let's say, for instance, you figure out that your n in this particular problem is 10, and you're choosing 5 at a time. Hit enter and give you your answer. Save you time from having to reduce everything down using that combination form that you've been taught. Stats, I think you're good on. I don't think you'll be doing any of that. Something I haven't shown you. Oh, down here at matrix, this is pretty nice. You can create a matrix, any one that you want. So if you click create and select the first one, you can pick the number of rows, the number of columns, and you hit OK, and you just have to autofill. And you can do operations with these. You can multiply 2 matrices together. You can add them. You can subtract them. If for some reason you can't multiply 2 matrices together, it will tell you that. Let's look at, for a moment, go back home, go to my scratch pad, and go to graph. I haven't done a lot with graphing yet. Just looking at this, if I want to enter in, let's say, I got something on my paper that says y equals 3x plus 6. So, 3x.
I need Anthony Irons to the office.
3x plus 6. Then I'm going to hit enter. And there's your line. Again, what's really nice, I can grab onto it and move it around if I need to. Other things you can do once you have something graphed, and you can come back here and graph as many as you want. So let's say I hit tab again, I'm going to graph a second line. It will do it in a different color. This time I'm going to do negative 3x minus 2. There's that linear equation graphed for you. This is really nice also. If you hit menu and go to analyze graph, you can find the 0, the minimum, the max, the intersection. All right, you can also trace through it if you need some values. You can also hit this table and select split screen, and you can see different values that have been calculated for you. So I hope these tips have helped you learn some things about this calculator you didn't know. Again, I'm not showing you everything on here because there's no need for some of these things if you're going to do the ACT or Performance Series. But here are some basic things, and of course if you need more, you can come and see me in room 35 or any of your other math teachers for help with these calculators.